I realize I need more Christmas shirts because I'm wearing my cryptid shirt today because I felt like it. All my Christmas shirts I have are all too small for my fat body right now, so I need to get some more of those. So if you're looking for a Christmas present for me, there you go. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 530. Not Man of the Year, but Time Magazine's Person of the Year has been chosen, and we will talk about them today. Also saw Godzilla -1 today with my son and one of his friends, and we'll talk about that a little bit. There's also been trailers, deaths, sports talk. Amazon Prime is all over the place today. Doctor Who trailer. Weather probably is in there. Christmas is in there. New food stuff for 2024. New team ups of actors and actresses for 2024 coming up, all kinds of stuff, and anniversary stuff like that. It's 11:41 p.m. here on December 9th. We are now just 2 weeks away from Christmas. Well, when it hits Sunday in about 20 minutes, yes, it'll be 2 weeks from Christmas Eve, I should say. So how's everybody's doing with their Christmas shopping and stuff like that? My wife apparently says we're almost done the kids. I have no idea, but okay. Coming up this week, my daughter's 17th birthday is on Tuesday, so we're taking her to Cheesecake Factory to celebrate. That's what she wanted to do. I'm going to take her driving on Wednesday to test her night driving, see how she does with that. So that's what's coming up this week. Oh, I forgot to write about Fortnite. Oh, well. Big week for Fortnite this week. Last week you heard me complaining about the live event, but the new season started, and we'll talk about that and the new stuff that Fortnite brought out this week, breaking records left and right. So we'll talk about that also. A lot of sports news. So yeah, gotta get moving. I'm not feeling that great, and I don't know what that's all about, but there's that. We were going to go down to my in-laws tomorrow to go Christmas tree farming, get a Christmas tree, but it's going to be pouring down rain. And then the Christmas tree farm said that they are closing, so we weren't going to do it. But then they're like, "We'd love to see you, though." My wife's like, "Sure." I was like, really wish you wouldn't have said that. I wish I said, "Well, we'll see you at Christmas," because I really, honestly, no desire to go down to see them. Love my in-laws, but I don't feel like driving an hour in the pouring rain to just hang out with just my in-laws who don't really talk to us all that much anyway. Just talk to my wife all the time, but they don't really talk to us too much, and it's just sort of be blah, to be honest. I just feel weird. So just a lot of stuff going on. And the fact that I cannot fathom that in 2 weeks is going to be Christmas. So really got to start getting my head in the game here. Anyway, let's get on with it because I'm tired as hell and I want to I love doing the show, but sometimes I figure try to do it earlier, maybe it'd be a better time. But for now, this is what we're doing it at. So let's try and get this done within about an hour or so. So first up, Taylor Swift is Time's Person of the Year. I believe it is a well-deserved choice for Person of the Year for this year particularly. This is her second time being Person of the Year on Time Magazine's cover. And of course you have the wags who are all like, why the hell is she Person of the Year? Why are we celebrating that when there's so much other stuff other people could be? Well, let's find out for sure. First up, not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 of her albums are in the top 10 Billboard Best Albums this week. has never happened before in recording history, and that's due to the fact that Taylor Swift is a hugely intelligent businesswoman who got screwed by a company who bought her, who owned I guess her production companies, who produced her albums, and they kept all stuff like that, and so she was able to go through a loophole and re-release all of her stuff under her banner, and has re-released all of them this year for the most part, with the exception of one or two of them. Save them for next year. And they're updated, digitally remastered, stuff like that. So of course, all the Swifties are going to buy that again. So I think that was actually brilliant thing to do. Her Eras tour that started this year also is absolutely booming. It was selling out everywhere across the United States, and then started on an international tour down in South America for a little bit. And then she's taken a well-deserved break after being on tour for the last 3 or 4 months. And then she released her schedule for the rest of her Eras tour. She's not stopping till 2025. She's going all over the freaking place. She'll have breaks periodically, yeah, but she is going absolutely crazy. Her Eras tour is going to be continuing next year and into 2025 for that matter as well. It will be coming back to the United States on the tail end of that concert, so those people who missed it out will be able to see her then. And speaking of the Eras tour, the concert movie that she released on her own on October 13th that scared away horror movies on October the 13th and became box office blockbusters, the Eras thing. So you have that as well. Biggest box office ever for a concert movie. And even Beyonce's movie, or Rihanna's movie, I think it's Beyonce's movie, that came out last week and was a big hit, dropped precipitously this week, whereas Taylor's didn't. So not that I'm comparing the two because she's friends with Beyonce and she's supporting her, stuff like that, but I'm just making a point about why she deserves this. She became a billionaire due to the sales of her records and this Eras tour stuff. And on the Eras tour, she's given $55 million to her touring crew. And every place she stops, she gives money to charities and stuff like that. I think they said in one spot, she gave charities enough to gave money to a charity enough to feed like 200 people for a full year or something like that, which is really impressive. And the reason why the Republicans hate her is because she got thousands of her Swifties to register to vote Democratic for the most part. And she didn't force her belief. She is a Democrat. She did not force them on her. She said, you need to, register to vote to get your voice heard. And as I told my daughter and my son at dinner this week, I said, you guys, your generation is going to be controlling stuff in the very near future. And what we're seeing right now is the last gasp of the psychopaths in our government who have not figured out how to grasp getting the young people's vote. Instead of changing to fit them and maybe being more successful, they are still campaigning for the older people who are not going to be around in the next few years, whereas the youngsters are really coming out for us. The last two elections, the midterms, and this year's elections in various states, colleges across the country had lines out the door of students trying to vote. And so that's a very good thing. And have someone of her caliber get thousands of people to sign up to register to vote is a win-win, and is outstanding. And of course, she is dating the best tight end in football right now, and maybe one of the best in history, in Travis Kelce, and making more and more people want to watch football, making it more accessible. When all this started about 2 months ago, I really went in saying this isn't this is good for the sport. It's not bad for the sport, despite all the wags saying that it was bad for the sports. It's good for the sport. So in the interview, Taylor finally, because this is one thing that we know what Travis has been saying about him and Taylor's relationship, because he's been saying it on his podcast, The Heights. And so we never really got to hear what she said. Well, in this interview for Time Magazine, she went off glowingly about how much she's in love with Travis Kelce and how they got together. And everyone was under the assumption that the date that her first time at the Kansas City Chiefs game that got so much press was their first date. You're wrong. Taylor pointed out that after he mentioned her going to her concert at Arrowhead back in June or July, and as she calls it, adorably called me out, which she thought was very metal, as she said, on the podcast. She was able to get a message to him, and they started hanging out without anybody knowing, which to me is absolutely amazing. How the hell were they able to cover it for at least a month? They were covered. They were just starting to get to know each other and stuff like that. So by the time that she showed up at Arrowhead for the first ever game that she went to in Kansas City, where she was in the box with Travis's mom and was hanging out with them, stuff like that, and cheering him on, stuff like that. They've been dating for at least a good month or so before then, getting to know each other, stuff like that. So this was not their first date. And I find that really kind of interesting and kind of cool, because I thought it was something similar to that. So that was good at that. Travis himself, doing okay for himself, and probably could have, maybe made a case to be not really person of the year, but at least one of the people to recognize that he had quite the year, obviously dating Taylor Swift. But let's also remember he won a Super Bowl beginning of the year against his brother. He broke a ton of records this season so far, at least 3 records he's broken for tight end this season alone. His podcast with his brother is one of the top podcasts, if not the, I think they pushed something on Spotify. They are the top sports podcast now, like that. And they also had the #1 song on Billboard when they released their duet, Travis and Jason, Fairy Tale in Philadelphia. So you can sort of make a case for that. You can also make a case for his brother Jason, because he had the Kelce documentary that was on Netflix. He became a dad for the 3rd time at the beginning of the year as well. Played in the Super Bowl, though he lost to his brother. #1 podcast, #1 song, and so on and so forth, like that. And oh yeah, he was runner-up to Sexiest Man Alive, People's Magazine Sexiest Man Alive. And he also is breaking records for a center. So both Travis and Jason are having quite the year. Now, Taylor, not as big as the year as Taylor, and Taylor absolutely deserves that. So, all you wags can just, shut up, because there's really no one else. There's no one that I can think of off the top of my head that can throw out the type of stuff the year that Taylor's having. So good on her. And let's hope things going up. She is free now till January. Then she starts back up in her concert. She's been hanging out with Travis. Travis calls her Tay, and she calls him Trav. So no, they like to shorten their names. I guess that's cute, And also there is a college course about Taylor Swift at the University of Miami, but it's not just like about her music or anything. It's about how she got out of that copyright issue with her publisher or whatever like that, and was able to create this, new thing with all these re-releases of her album that she now has control over, and they have nothing. So that's pretty cool. So congratulations to Tay. I can use it too, even though we're not dating. We'll see how things go in the future. And thank you for getting these Swifties to register to vote. And hopefully, when the election comes around next year, tell them to get out and vote, because we're going to need all the help we can get, because these psychopaths are getting even more psychopathic as the days progress. So 2024 is going to be a really hard and difficult and interesting kind of year. So we'll see what happens. It's not that far away, man. Not that far away. All right, now let's move on to that other stuff. Fortnite Season 5. Let's talk about that too, because I play Fortnite, and that's the other real big story for this week. Last week I told you they had the live event last Saturday, which was a shit show to get into, that it was so bad that me, my son, and my son's friend did not actually get into it. And it was a shit show for everybody, not just us. And then eventually they shut everything down, and the Chapter 5 Season 1 popped up. First up, it was late coming out. And second, there were queues to get in, and you played a game or two, and then you got kicked and had to wait in a queue again. So their issues were still going on. But Chapter 5 Season 1 goes back to the hardcore realistic graphics that the Chapter 4 Seasons 1 through 4 dealt with. The new setting is very Italian in my opinion. The key thing about that is there is a train now that wanders the entire island, and you can get on board it. There's all kinds of stuff on there, and that's really kind of cool to get on board the plane or the train. There's wineries, there's wine bars, there's wine cellars. There is lots of mountainy, snowy areas. The Coral Buddies are back. The only issue I really have for the season, and I like it, the graphics are good. The only couple issues I have is all the POIs seem to be one giant like mansion. There's a few that have some smaller things, but there's not like one real nice like city, like a Pleasant or Retail Row or something like that. It's just one big mansion with smaller little buildings next to it, and each of these places seem to have some kind of big bad that you have to kill to get these medallions, which are to give you health consistently and stuff like that. And then the weapons are a little weird because they're customizable now, and there's like 5 or 6 different ARs and 5 or 6 different SMGs and snipers and pistols, stuff like that, and you don't know which ones are best, so you just grab them and see which ones you like the best. And then you can customize them at certain locations. There's areas where you can, find hidden upgrades to weapons, stuff like that. Chickens and frogs are back. You can drive in cars again. You can drive, you can go swimming again, which is great. And so far, and then the other thing is there's really no one spot that I found that I'm going to keep going back to over and over again. I think there's a little island I like to go to. But there's some definitely interesting things coming up, and the Christmas stuff is going to be different. They changed some stuff up. The daily tasks are no longer in a task bar. They're on the side. You pick one that you do for that round, and you have to do it in order to get it. You can't do all 3 of them like we used to do a daily. You would see all 3 of them, and then you would do whatever one you could do, and maybe you do all 3 of them in one match. It all depends. Now you got to do one at a time. The lockers, they changed up. I don't really like the way the lockers are now. So that's interesting. We did learn in this most recent update that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will be coming to Fortnite, which is the next big one that I'm really excited to see. All 4 of them are there, plus April O'Neil. Also, John Wick will be getting a couple new styles, and that's pretty cool too. And Dragon Ball Z is coming back for a 3rd time for new skins there as well. And then we got some ideas of what some of the Christmas stuff is that we're getting, which is good. But that wasn't the only thing that was going on with Fortnite. The whole point of the live event was that they were going to show off their new mods that they have. So you have the Battle Royale, you have the new Lego Fortnite, which is what I thought at the time was Fortnite, but in Lego. But what it actually turned out to be is that it is more like a Minecraft. It's a more like a building survival thing where you have to build houses and plant farms and farm and find water and don't really have guns and weapons. You have some explosive devices, and then you have to take on creatures and beasts and stuff like that to protect your property. And it's an open world thing, and everybody who sets up a piece of land in Legoland, you can invite your friends to come visit you at these places. So it is an open world Lego thing, but it's not like I thought it was gonna be like Battle Royale Lego. It's not Battle Royale Lego. It's more like Minecraft Fortnite. And I was never really good at Fortnite anyway to begin with, so I haven't played it yet. But that had a huge opening last week, where it had 2.5 million players come out on opening day. And when I went on yesterday, it was still 2 million people playing it. So it's still huge right now. Then they had the Rocket League thing debut also this week, their new mod there. That isn't as popular as the Lego mod or the Battle Royale. But it is in the game now, and you can customize cars, stuff like that. And now the newest one just opened on Saturday, because it is now officially Sunday the 10th, officially 2 weeks to Christmas Eve, is Fortnite Festival, which is basically a rock band with a bunch of musicians allowing them to use your songs. You have to play it and stuff like that. And there's going to be concerts and all kinds of stuff. So that one, again, not hitting the big numbers that Battle Royale and Lego do, but it's still doing pretty good, I guess. So that's everything that's going on with Fortnite there. Anniversary Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer debuted in 1964. That's 59 years ago this week. I'm sorry. Yes, 59 years ago this week. 60th anniversary is next year. That's pretty interesting. Big death. One of the big deaths we had this week. Norman Lear, one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest television producers. He is television royalty. And I'll tell you why. Again, once I get this up there, I should tell you all the stuff that he's done. I guarantee you've heard of at least some of these. Norman Lear. Okay. Just got to find his on Wikipedia here. So I find his list of accomplishments. Find them. That's a weird picture. Okay. This is a weird way of doing it, but All in the Family, Sanford and Son, Maude, Good Times, The Jeffersons, One Day at a Time, Mary Hartman, Fernwood Tonight, Different Strokes, One Day at a Time. Those are mostly his big ones. I thought he did a lot more than that. All in the Family, Maude, Sanford and Son, Good Times. He was involved with that too. And all kinds of crazy stuff. But that is his career. He is television royalty, and he passed away this week. Other big death this week was Ryan O'Neal, actor who was in Love Story and Barry Lyndon. I don't see what else he did also. I think he was dating someone famous or was married to someone famous also. Ryan O'Neal. There he is. Again, let me find his work relationships. Yeah, he was in a relationship with actress Farrah Fawcett for about 20 years. That's the big one I remember him being with as well. One of his children is Tatum O'Neal, who is an actress. I remember that. All right. Filmography. Let's see if there's our love story is his big one. What's Up, Doc? Paper Moon, Barry Lyndon, A Bridge Too Far, Irreconcilable Differences. That's one I remember him mostly from because this was in the 80s. Chances Are, Man of the House, an Alan Smithy film, Burn, Hollywood Burn, Zero Effect. I think he played the bad guy in Zero Effect. Malibu's Most Wanted. And then television-wise, he did episodes of popular shows. He did episodes of Many Loves of Dobie Gills, The Untouchables, Leave It to Beaver, My Three Sons, The Virginian, Perry Mason, Wagon Train. He was in Peyton Place, which was a huge hit, 501 episodes. He was in that. He was in Larry Sanders Show for 2 episodes, was in the show Bull for 6 episodes. Episode that was Housewives was in 90210 for 3 episodes and was in Bones for 24 episodes. So he had quite a career as well. So Ryan O'Neal passed away this week as well. Excuse me. Another big thing that happened this week, or rather yesterday, Saturday, was the annual Army-Navy game. I'm a Navy person myself, have a lot of family in Navy. Navy set in Annapolis, Maryland, so you want them to win because they are representing Maryland. They lost, however, to Army 17-11. That was this year's Army-Navy game. Neither team is really that good this year. They've had some battles where both teams are really, really good, and it was a huge deal. But it's still a huge deal with members of Army-Navy, and it's the biggest rivalry, one of the biggest rivalries in college football. So that's pretty cool as well. I already talked about this one yesterday, but I'm talking about it again. This is the anniversary. 30 years ago this week, my Albright College Squirrel movie with my friends Patrick Gibbs and Eric Magnuson, which we all directed together, debuted at the Albright College Film Festival. Though I start thinking about more, I think it would probably be next week. It's probably the 12th is more like it. But for now, we're just going to go with this because I already picked it as that date. So I talked about that already on the show. I did a oral history of that, but I just wanted to bring it up again on this show that my squirrel movie is 30 years old this week as well. And the only other anniversary I have on this page is Brokeback Mountain, came out 18 years ago this week. All right. The Boy and His Heron, the new Miyazaki movie, is going to surprise everyone this week by becoming the #1 movie in the United States. A Miyazaki movie has never opened #1 in the United States, not even when Spirited Away came out. And it also made $5.5 million alone on Friday, which was the same amount that the entirety of the Miyazaki's last film that came to America made in its whole run in America. So it looks like it's aiming to become the #1 movie this week. Right behind it will be Godzilla -1, which has also had a huge box office surge for a Japanese spoken American English subtitled movie that has Godzilla in it. But it's made a huge. It was both of these movies were huge in Japan and made their way over to the United States and look like they're going to be huge here as well. My son wanted to go see Godzilla -1. Technically, I wanted to also because of all the good buzz it was getting and all the award talk it was being talked about. Now, the Japanese Academy Awards are thinking about calling it for Best Picture, which they've never done for a Godzilla movie before. And there's talk that it's possible that it could make its way into our own Academy Awards as well. Same with Boy and His Heron. So that's good. But I actually enjoyed it immensely. The best way to describe it is a Academy Award movie that has Godzilla in it, because the storyline is intriguing and is more dramatic and has more story beats in it than your typical Godzilla movie. Most of your Godzilla movies were creatures attack Japan, Godzilla comes saves the day, or Godzilla attacks Japan, and there's really no other story about it except how they're trying to stop them and save them and stop Godzilla or help Godzilla, depending on the movie. This one actually has a whole storyline in it, which Godzilla just happens to be more of an ancillary character, and is not really in it all that much, but his presence is felt throughout the whole movie. Now, the other thing I found interesting about the movie as well, and again, spoiler alerts coming up if you haven't seen it yet. I definitely recommend you do, but you might want to mute me for about 5 minutes. I'm not going to talk too long about it because I'm getting tired and I need to move on. I got lots more to do, but I have to talk about the movie at least because it is such a good movie. It is so good. Godzilla came out in 1954. 70th anniversary is next year. This movie is set in the 1940s. Technically, the first scene takes place in 1945 at the tail end of World War II and advances in time till about maybe 1947, 1948 sort of window. So it predates the 1954 Godzilla movie. So to my eyes, I was thinking of it as more of kind of a prequel, because when we first see Godzilla in 1945, he is not the giant, massive Godzilla we're used to seeing, big as a skyscraper or whatever. He was a lot more manageable, not small, but he was much smaller than you thought he would be. And the basic premise of the story is there is a kamikaze pilot who, when it was his turn to go on the sortie where he was going to sacrifice himself to the Japanese army, he chickened out, said his plane has engine trouble, so he cannot go on the sortie with the kamikazes. And so he is sent to an island in the Pacific that is distinctly only there to be used for repairing of airplanes that are faulty. So the only people on the island are mechanics who fix airplanes. That's it. There's no other armed forces there. There's no military presence there. It's just these mechanics, and the Americans never bothered with it. So they're fairly safe about that. The mechanics, of course, discover there's nothing wrong with the planes. They pretty much have their own idea about what the situation is. And you got to think about it from his perspective, is that his country is asking him to sacrifice his life for a cause that is already lost for the most part, because this is the tail end of World War II. They know they're losing, so why should I waste my life for a government that already knows we're losing? I think my one death is not going to affect the Americans' way because they had the bomb, So they accept him for the most part, and then Godzilla attacks at night at this island, and they don't have really any other types of weapons except for like rifles, and so they try to shoot Godzilla, but he's just his body is just too strong to stop that. So they tell the guy, "Hey, your airplane has guns on it. Why don't you shoot Godzilla with your guns from your airplane? It might kill him." And so Kamikaze Pilot is not sure he likes that idea because he knows that that'll get Godzilla's attention and come over and kill him. So he freezes up when he gets into the cockpit and cannot shoot Godzilla. So Godzilla ends up killing everybody else on the island, except for one other guy, and then swims away. The one guy who lives is angry and upset at the Kamikaze Pilot for not doing his duty. And they make their way back to the mainland. And so the Kamikaze Pilot then makes his way back to his hometown, which has been decimated in the war. And I can't tell if it was his sister or friend or whatever, but someone who knew him, a female who knew him, called him a coward and called him out on his cowardice and stuff like that. And that, you should have died because you were a kamikaze pilot. You should die for your country, blah, blah, blah. And so he added more guilt to everything. And then a young female thief is being chased by the police because she's stolen some food. And the kamikaze pilot stops her briefly. She has a baby in her arms. She hands the baby to him and runs away. And the police chase her. And so he doesn't know when, if the woman's coming back for her baby. So he has to take care of it, and then contemplates leaving it when it's been like hours for the ladies come back, contemplates leaving the baby, but can't do it. So ends up going back to the remnants of his parents' house to try to, get his life restarted. And the thief comes back, and we find out that that's not her baby, that a older woman who was dying tasked this young woman to care for her baby so the baby can live. So the three of them form a impromptu family, just so the two people can take care of the kamikaze pilot, and the thief can take care of the baby. And the sister friend ends up being the fourth part of that card, being the special auntie. So time moves forward for a couple years as they're rebuilding the area, and the kamikaze pilot has now gotten a job cleaning mines out of the Bay of Japan, and the thief has become a really good mother to the baby, but the two of them are not together romantically. They're living in the same house together, but they're not there romantically. So he joins this crew and it's good at his job. Their job is to pull up mines and then shoot them and explode them, so that they don't sink any ships anymore. And let's see, while they're out there, what's happening? So they all become sort of friends, stuff like that. And then they are sent in to investigate the destruction of a battleship, which is by Godzilla. And nobody knows Godzilla exists except for the kamikaze guy. And so he sees this and they hear the story. So he tells them what's going on, and Godzilla attacks again. This time he doesn't hesitate, and he hesitates for a second, but doesn't hesitate in trying to kill Godzilla. And so they've been throwing mines into Godzilla's mouth, and he puts it in his mouth and he shoots it and explodes it, but it doesn't do any damage really. Actually, the damage it fixes itself like Wolverine does. It's like a healing factor. And so he's got to figure out what they're going to do. Meanwhile, his thief mom has gotten a job in this place called Ginza, so that they can all have money together and help, make a better life for the child who's growing up here. And eventually, he keeps going back out, trying to figure out ways to stop Godzilla and divert him away from Tokyo. And eventually, Tokyo comes back and attacks Ginza, and he knows that the woman is there who he's starting to fall in love with. So he goes to try to save her, but she gets, blown away in the destruction. And so that causes him even more grief. So he's a PTSD survivor who's suffering from grief and survivor's guilt and stuff like that. And now he's like a lone father now, single father. So one of the guys that he was working with is a doctor who's come up with a plan that they realize that guns and bombs, stuff like that, can't kill Godzilla. So they think maybe we can drown him or have him suffer from decompression. So they come up with a plan to sink him into the deepest part of like the Gulf of Japan, Sea of Japan. And he, the kamikaze pilot, is now determined that he is going to destroy Godzilla because he killed his woman that he wanted to marry. So he finds a special plane, is able to catch the guy the mechanic who he was with on the island that Godzilla attacked for the first time, to fix the plane and fill it with all kinds of explosives so that if the plan doesn't work, to drown him or have him suffer from decompression, he can fly into Godzilla's mouth, because he did notice that the interior of his mouth, his skin on the outside is really hard to penetrate, but the inside is easy. So he would fly his plane kamikaze style into the mouth of Godzilla and blow it up. To save Tokyo and everybody like that. That's all I'm going to tell you, so I don't ruin anything else out. But it is such a good movie. Really good effects. A very, very good story. As I said, very Academy Award-esque story that just throws Godzilla in there. Godzilla is barely in the movie, not barely, but he makes his presence felt. He's not fighting any other kaijus. He's all by himself, destructing Japan, stuff like that. So yeah, definitely worthwhile. I would definitely check it out on the big screen. It's outstanding. I'm surprised that they released it early since the 70th anniversary of Godzilla is next year, but maybe they're going to release a new movie of that coming out next year. So we'll see what happens, but definitely worth it. Absolutely worth it. You should check it out. Totally. Shohei Ohtani, the freakishly great pitcher hitter hybrid that has not been seen since Babe Ruth, who's won the MVP a number of times, is probably the best player in baseball, and this now, and also maybe in history, was it was a free agent, and it was time for him to dip his toes in the free agency. And Saturday, he signed a new contract. He has a new home. He was playing for the California Angels over there in Anaheim, or the Anaheim Angels, I should say. The Anaheim Angels. He was playing for them. He's staying on the West Coast. He is signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. A 10-year, $700 million contract. But to be fair, Shohei Ohtani is worth it. He is probably, as I said, the best player in baseball. Could be one of the best players in history. Well worth it. It's about $70 million a year. So actually well worth it, and pretty good. Him and Mike Trout were the best part of the Anaheim Angels. They were a terrible team, but they kept Trout and Ohtani were the ones that kept them in the race for so long. So we'll see what happens with that. Juan Soto, the other really big free agent character out there, has signed with, of course, the New York Yankees, because why not? So that's just wonderful. So yippee for that. But that's good. I like Shohei Ohtani very much, and I'm glad he's not going to Boston or New York, even though we have handled him pretty good. The Orioles have, but I'm happy for him because he's a decent person and he's a really good baseball player. Bob Dylan, the guy I was named after. Yep, Bob Dylan is who my parents named me after. Sells his Scottish mansion for $5.35 million. Did not know he had a Scottish mansion, but there we go. McDonald's will be bringing back the chicken snack wraps, which were hugely popular and disappeared years ago, and now coming back, I think not till 2025. I think I read somewhere. It could be wrong, but it will be it will be coming back. Also this week, a 25-year-old X-Files mystery has been solved. Fans of the X-Files were trying to figure out what the name of the song was that was playing during an episode of the show 25 years ago. And internet sleuths were able to find it within a few hours. And because of the popularity of it, they were able to get it to repost on Spotify and on YouTube. So now you can go listen to the song. I listened to the first few things, didn't really like it at all, so I'm just going to not even talk about it. But there we go. Some bad news. Stephen King's Dollar Boy program has been disbanded, which is one of the more interesting programs. And I didn't read the whole article. I'm not sure exactly why. But for those who don't know, Stephen King set up a program where up-and-coming film students or theatrical people who wanted to do a Stephen King story could buy the rights to one of his short stories for $1. The only stipulation is you had to send him a recording send him a video of either the play or the movie that you used that for. So there wasn't, I mean, it wasn't like, the hugely popular, like you couldn't get The Mist for $1, but it was like a lot of his lower level short stories that not a lot of people know about. He was allowing, young students or young up and coming filmmakers to just do it for $1 because they didn't have a lot of budget on it. And he just wanted to see what they did with it. For some reason, he decided to disband that. Don't know why that is. So that's sad that that's over with, but oh well. Stranger Things is set to start filming their final season, January 2024. All the actors' schedules have finally lined up. All the scripts are ready. They've been in pre-production for a while now, and they're ready to rock and roll. Bradley Cooper and Christian Bale are eyeing a Cold War film they're going to be doing together, and Charlize Theron and Daniel Craig have also eyed a heist film from director Justin Lin that they are planning on doing together as well. So those are some new duos we're going to be seeing in the future here. The much maligned Olivia Wilde, who does not deserve it, by the way. I talked about her last year when she went through all that shit she went through there. Is set to direct a naughty Christmas movie, which she is describing as a cross between, not a cross, but describing it as Bridesmaids, that raunchy sex comedy at the North Pole. So that should be interesting. Actually, it's really kind of an intriguing idea to see what they decide to do with that. That's the I think about it. I'm really surprised that the Rock and Chris Evans's Christmas movie is not being released by Netflix this year. I would assume that would have been the perfect time because they seem to have gotten it finished. But I guess maybe they didn't quite finish it yet, and they had to do that. Denis Villanueva, whose Dune 2 was moved to March 1st, 2024, due to the strike, says that and I talked about this too, he had already plans to make it a trilogy. He wanted to adapt Dune Messiah, the novel, Dune Messiah, into a third movie because it utilizes the same characters. He says the script is pretty much done for Dune 3, but he will probably not make that his next film. He feels that he needs a little bit of a breather from the Dune world, so he's probably going to direct something else in between. And then Dune 2 is coming out, so he'll be doing a lot of press for that. He wants to direct something completely different and then go and do Dune 3. So good on him like that. I know a lot of people hate this casting, but I kind of like this casting. Sean Gunn, yes, James Gunn's brother, who was in Guardians of the Galaxy and has done a bunch of stuff as well as Kraglin, and has been in all of his brother's other films, stuff like that, is now set to make his debut as a regular in the DC Cinematic Universe. He will be playing Maxwell Lord. And honestly, I think that's absolutely brilliant casting because I think Sean Gunn is actually a much better actor than people are giving him credit for. They just see that he's the brother of James Gunn, and James Gunn's running the DCU. So, if you have someone that's pretty good, hey, why don't you bring him in there? So I think that's a pretty good idea. Now, I told you the story how Emma Myers, who is part of the Wednesday TV show on Netflix, playing Netflix's perky friend and roommate, is related to a guy I worked with at Diamond. Emma is his cousin's daughter, and he's very proud of her. Obviously, it should be, and he always touts all of her appearance, stuff like that. He revealed, and he didn't reveal it. He actually followed up on it, but it was revealed that Emma Myers has signed on with Jason Momoa to star in the live-action Minecraft movie. So that's a good cast we're getting so far right there to build that up. So that's pretty good. So we'll see what that's all about. Should be intriguing to see what that's going to be all about. Amazon and Paramount Plus are vying to air the Coyote versus Acme movie that was dumped by Warner Brothers. Netflix put a bid in on it, but they found it to be too low. So they rejected it. Yeah, whatever. Darkman, Sam Raimi's wanted to make a Batman movie. He was not allowed to, so he made Darkman instead with Liam Neeson and Frances McDormand. Great Danny Elfman score, a great movie that not a lot of people know about, and it's sort of come and gone, but it is coming. Is going to be getting the 4K treatment. I mentioned in passing earlier a few months ago that I am intrigued by a lot of the 4K DVDs that are going to be Blu-rays that are going to be coming out here soon. And my wife made the assumption that I wanted a 4K player, so I was like, I kind of do. I just don't think we have the TV that can really utilize it. But hey, if you're going to do it, go for it. So I think I'm going to get that for Christmas, and that's cool. I think if I do get that, that'd be really, really kind of cool. I think I can get this movie. The main reason I get is I want to see The Abyss in 4K because that's my favorite not my favorite, but one of my favorite James Cameron movies. Let's see, science. How about a cheeseburger on a Rice Krispie treat bun with peanut butter and bacon? Someone posted that as an actual food thing, and I don't know where you can get it from, but that sounds kind of gross-ish. 'Tis the season. We had Harry Potter Hershey's Kisses. We now have Grinch Hershey's Kisses out and about now. Echo, the new series coming to Disney Plus that's set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, debuting in January, got some of their first reviews. We had a trailer come out a few weeks ago that I talked about with lots of Kingpin in it. And the first people who were able to view the first 2 episodes are saying that fans of the Netflix DVD series will absolutely love this series, which is a good sign because all those people are complaining how they think Disney was going to neuter it, but apparently they aren't. So get over yourselves and actually support it as well. So you have Disney and Marvel. And this is interesting too, because I remember I mentioned this story. I had to be maybe beginning of the year. I don't even remember when it was. It's been forever. And I didn't mention it again because I thought it was solved, but it apparently didn't get solved until this week. Disney and Marvel have reached an agreement with the Steve Ditko family over the rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. I remember there was a court case where the Steve Ditko family was suing Disney and Marvel Comics for the rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange because Steve Ditko helped co-create them. And they felt that he deserved more credit for it and more money and the rights for it. They needed to get some of that money thing involved with it because of the popularity of those characters in the MCU. So they sued him for whatever, and apparently they settled. But I thought that case, remember mentioning it on the show before. And again, it seemed like it at least a year ago, the beginning of this year, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. And then it just sort of dissipated because I'd never heard anything more about it. So I just assumed that they came to agreement, or it just went away. I'm not exactly sure. But no, but they came to agreement now, and that's been taken care of. Brenda Lee is a singer from the 60s, in the 50s and 60s, who has a massive Christmas music hit in Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. Yes, Brenda Lee is the singer-songwriter who created Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, which you hear on the radio all the time now around Christmas time, is in multiple Christmas movies, including utilized in a major sequence in the 1990 spectacular Christmas film Home Alone. Brenda Lee's Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree has hit number 1 the billboards this week, only 65 years after it debuted. It never reached number 1 in those 65 years. And it knocked out Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, which was number 1 on the Billboard charts this week. So congratulations to Brenda Lee for getting your first number 1 hit 65 years after you wrote the song. Congratulations. Some astronomy stuff, which is kind of cool. This past Friday, the 8th, Halley's Comet, the comet that comes like a dime, like a perfect clock every 76 years. You can see it in Earth skies. And I remember in 86 when it came back, everyone was making a big deal about it. And honestly, I don't think I even saw it. It was just like, if I did see it, it was just sort of like, okay. It was just a little thing in the sky. Just, it wasn't even that. It was like a little powder. It was like a little light moving, whatever. It didn't have the tail and all the stuff that I remember. It was 86. 76 years previous in the 1920s or 10s or 1916 or whatever it was, 1910, whatever it was. It was a bigger deal because obviously it was also 1910 and it was supposedly really brighter. So 86 didn't. So it's not due back until 2062, which is, let's see, still about 43 years from now. So I'll be in my 90s. I'll be 93. So it's about 43 years from now. It's due back. So apparently it takes 43 years to traverse the solar system because on Friday, December 8th, Halley's Comet reached the furthest point away from the sun and it started making its way back through our solar system. So it goes out and it's like, okay, time to come back around. And so it's making its trip back into our solar system. Will take 43 years to traverse to come back to us in 2062. I just thought that was kind of a neat little story. That's neat about that. On December, December, I think 11th and 12th, right? Yep, December 11th into early December 12th, an asteroid will pass in front of Betelgeuse, whatever you want to call it, the bright red star in Orion, creating a rare eclipse of an asteroid in front of a star. The star will disappear from view because you can see it in the night sky. If you look and see Orion, it's the red star, I think, up in his shoulder, I think. Because Sirius is the one that's on his belt. I think Betelgeuse is in his shoulder. It will disappear from sight for roughly about 12 seconds, but it will be gone from sight as the meteorite passes in front of it. I think that's kind of cool that's happening as well. Other science, Neanderthals may have hunted mighty cave lions. I did not know there were mighty cave lions, but yes, there were, and Neanderthals probably hunted them down. Gene editing gone wrong. This is not Jurassic Park, but scientists wanted to play with edit the genes a little bit of a hamster to make it more lovable, fuzzy than it already is, and instead sent it the opposite direction, made him extraordinarily angry and violent. So hopefully they'll get that fixed and figure out their problems. So every year, like clockwork, multiple times usually during the year, though I don't remember too many during this year. I think there was at least one I remember, and I always mention these on the show because I think it's very funny. And maybe one day it'll happen. It'll be really true. There is always talk that the world is going to end in some form or another. We've had stories about the rapture happening on these dates. The 2012, December 21st, 2012, the Mayan calendar ended. So, of course, the end of the world was going to happen. Didn't happen. The rapture was going to happen this date. Didn't happen. So we moved to this date. Didn't happen. Moved to this date. Didn't happen. The world was going to end on this date. An asteroid was going to hit the Earth on this date. The mysterious 10th planet was going to pass by the Earth or destroy it on this date. None of that has happened. So there's always people that are going to bring up these end of the world scenarios and stuff like that. This isn't really an end of the world scenario, but is definitely an intriguing storyline that could be something we need to pay more attention to. A time traveler. We have so many of those. They do YouTube videos. They talk about, all stuff's having, they show crazy pictures on their phones that are very blurry. Can't really tell what they are, saying they're from the future, blah, blah, blah. Regardless, a time traveler has said on one of his blog posts or YouTube, or talks to somebody who talked to somebody else who did a YouTube thing about it, that aliens will be invading the Earth in March. God, make it so. That would be so great. Probably wouldn't, but it'd be better than what's going on in our country right now. But yes, so keep an eye out. March 2024, aliens will be invading Earth, according to a time traveler. Why are you making fun of it, Dylan? I'm making fun of it because I don't believe it. I don't believe time travelers have made contact with us. I do not believe that the multiple times of crying wolf, that this one's going to stick. But come back here in about 3 months. If an alien invasion has happened, I will apologize then. But keep that in mind. Time Traveler says aliens will arrive here on Earth in March of 2024. Blind sand swimming golden mole has been rediscovered after 86 years. So congratulations. I love when endangered species come back. We're an hour in, and my God, I still have 2.5 pages, 3.5 pages. This is going to be a long one. Oh, gotta get moving here. The Bike Riders moves to summer 2024. That's the what's his face? The guy who played Elvis, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy. Motorcycle movie is coming out. Supposed to come out this year. Didn't move to 2024. We've had all kinds of video games. We've had, Squirrel with a Gun. We've had the Goose Game. We had Stray, about the cat in a post-apocalyptic world, or dystopian world, I should say. We'll get ready for causing chaos with a raccoon in a new video. You get to play as a raccoon, and you cause chaos to people trying to catch you by throwing rocks and doing all kinds of stuff. You can ride on skateboards and stuff like that. This is kind of interesting. A massive inflatable Santa has mysteriously appeared in a Texas neighborhood. Nobody knows how it got there. Nobody saw anybody put it up. And honestly, I'm starting to think about that. How the hell is it getting electrical in the middle of a neighborhood if it's not in front of somebody's house? But regardless, it's kind of a neat story. It just appeared one day. Obviously, it's not some sort of supernatural thing. A neighbor probably brought it up and didn't want to say anything. Speaking of science and stuff like that, scientists have discovered a new meteor shower. We haven't had a new meteor shower in a long time. It's set to debut on Tuesday, my daughter's 17th birthday, December 12th, 2023. They believe that we will have a new meteor shower that has never before been seen before, because they've been plotting things. They keep an eye out on stuff like that. So they believe that we'll get a new meteor shower. The Geminids are coming up in about another week, so it's not part of that. This is something completely different. So it's kind of interesting that a brand new meteor shower has been discovered and created. Speaking about space, in 1972, this is 3 years after he walked on the moon, Neil Armstrong visited the town of Langholm, Scotland, where he was read a 400-year-old law declaring that any Armstrong found in the town should be hanged. Obviously, they refused to follow up the rule, but that's kind of interesting that 400 years ago, someone actually put into law, anyone named Armstrong in this town will be hung. So, and not in a good way. Keep up with the Japanese are always way ahead of us, thinking way ahead of us. Robotic super monster wolves are guarding Japanese towns against bears. So these giant sort of mechanical wolf type of things are protecting these neighborhoods from bears because these suckers are mean looking and they're moving weird, and bears are like, it's too much for me. Letterkenny, the Canadian comedy series, is coming to an end with season 12, debuting around Christmas time. The first trailer for it came out. I didn't really get a chance to look at it, but Letterkenny is one of these things that I haven't really been watching, but I've been catching clips of it on Reels and YouTube and stuff like that. And I some of it's kind of funny, some of it's kind of annoying. But anyway, the season 12 trailer was released this week. Twisted Metal, which was one of the big hits of this past summer, has been renewed for a second season. So good on that. It was pretty much expected they were going to. Jacob Batalon joins the horror film Horoscope, which is due out in May of 2024. Baghead, another horror film, released their trailer this week. Don't know much about it because I don't give a rat's ass about it. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the Prime series based on the Angelina Jolie Brad Pitt movie, is releasing a trailer for their series on Prime. Didn't watch that because I could care less about that also. That's due out on Groundhog Day. But I figured, someone might be interested in it as well. Florence Pugh, while doing a stage discussion about Dune 2, was hit by an object thrown at her, hit in the face by a thrown object from the fans at this event. Florence Pugh is a goddamn American, it's a goddamn wonderful actress, person, sexy as all get out, and whoever hit her in the face should be flayed alive. More to smell my fart, which I just released. Carol and the End of the World animated Netflix movie released a trailer. This movie's coming out on the 15th. It's a weird-looking trailer about a woman who's going through a sort of a depressing phase, and at the same time, in this case, not like the alien invasion coming in March, this is about the end of the world has been discovered, and people are just not working and not living. They have 7 months to do whatever they want to before a comet or something hits them. But this Carol is just trying to live her life, and she finds that there are other people who are still doing their job, even though their end of the world is imminent in 7 months, and she teams up with them and has life. It's intriguing, but I don't know if it's one I would probably watch. SpongeBob SquarePants anime is returning. Did not know there was an anime, but there is, and it's returning. So if you saw the SpongeBob SquarePants anime, it is coming back. I thought this was a joke when I first saw it, but it is not. McDonald's is releasing a new shot, is not releasing, but is creating a new store, new restaurant called Cosmix, MCS, which is supposed to compete with Starbucks. It's going to be a beverage-only place with special types of drinks, just like sort of Starbucks does. It's called Cosmix. It's starting out, I think, in Texas and a few other places, and will be opening wider as it gets more popular. But yeah, there's that coming up. Photographer photographs a whale breaching in Seattle right by the Space Needle. It is an amazing picture. It is a once-in-a-lifetime picture. It's gorgeous, and you should absolutely check it out if you can find it. HBO Max has signed a streaming deal with A24 to stream their movies on HBO Max, which is a shame because A24 has good movies, and I'm not going to get HBO Max. Jay and Silent Bob 3 is in the works. Always like those types of movies, and it's good to see them, even though I think they're getting a little old right now. But may as well be like their last one because Kevin Smith tends to like to do these sort of trilogy sort of things. Peach Fuzz Oreos are the new Oreo coming in spring of 2024. Yes, it is peach flavored. So there you go. Some local news. Billionaire David Rubenstein is interested in buying the Baltimore Orioles baseball team. That would be amazing if he did. He is a local person, so he would not move them to Nashville like everybody else is thinking that they were going to do. anyone who takes over the Orioles to move them to Nashville. That's not going to happen. And Rubenstein is the one who ends up buying the team, but we'll see. Just mentioned, we'll see if that actually does happen. Right now, John Angelos is still the owner of it. Peter is his dad, but Peter is in his 90s, and John is the day-to-day guy. Candy Cane Lane, the Eddie Murphy Christmas movie that came out December 1st, is breaking streaming records on Prime. Still have not seen it, but congratulations to Eddie on that. Speaking of other Christmas stuff, deer gets frisky with a reindeer ornaments shot on a Ring camera. They noticed a deer coming to their yard, going after getting frisky with one of the reindeer ornaments out in their yard. And another thing, someone saw us in the middle of the day and filmed it. A bear attacked an inflatable reindeer, thinking it was a real one. So that's kind of cool as well. So that's good. Last week tonight has been renewed for 3 years. China has unveiled the first invisibility cloak, so we'll see if that actually ends up being anything. Cruel Intentions, the Sarah Michelle Gellar movie, did have a pilot that was going to star Sarah Michelle Gellar in it, but that got rejected, so Amazon asked for another one. They got it, and Amazon decided that they are going to make it into a series, so no Sarah Michelle Gellar in that, but they are making a Cruel Intentions TV show streaming on Prime. The Underdogs trailer, Snoop Dogg returns to acting, where he takes on the coaching of a Pee Wee football team. Constellation first look with Nomi Rapace and Jonathan Banks due out February 21st on Apple TV was not a trailer, just some pictures of the space drama coming on Apple soon. A sad anniversary this week. John Lennon was shot to death in 1980. This week. Death, Robert Shirelli, longtime Howard Stern show member, passed away this week. And cracked pieces of metal heals itself, an experiment that surprises scientists. So we've seen some metal repair itself. This is just something completely weird and different. That's wild. 1.5 foot long rat that can open coconuts was photographed for the first time ever on a remote island. So that's interesting. Young gorillas are pictured dismantling poacher traps. So they figured out how to dismantle poacher traps without hurting themselves. Upstate New York now has Bigfoot sightings. I think they've always had, but that's the newest place to have sightings right now. Bird-like footprints in Africa predate the existence of birds. So people are trying to figure out what this bird-like footprint is. Probably dinosaur, because dinosaurs did come from birds, but it predates birds, so we'll see what happens. I tried to get more info on this, but I didn't really get much. Seritan bats have penises that are 7 times larger, longer, and wider than the female bat's vagina. So they don't penetrate their partner when they have bat sex. Instead, they use some other means that I was trying to read so I could explain to you, but it did not make any sense to me. But these bats can have this sex that's not penetrating to up to 12 hours if need be. Good on that. Riley Keough and Jesse Eisenberg to star in Sasquatch Sunset, a movie about Bigfoot. Don't know much more about it, but it is a Bigfoot movie. The Legend of Zelda live-action movie director wants to make his movie be like a live-action Miyazaki film. So very cool on that. Jennifer Love Hewitt, gorgeous, wants to resurrect The Ghost Whisperer, which is one of her favorite shows. Working on that, she wants to resurrect it for a new series for her. Spider-Man Noir, which is the new series, going to be on Prime as well, has hired the Punisher writers to write the episodes for Spider-Man Noir, which was introduced in the Spider-Verse movies, and he's an all-black detective sort of Spider-Man sort of thing, stuck in like the 1950s sort of style. Super rare pregnant mega mouth shark washes up on the beach of the Philippines, so that's kind of sad. Squid Game: The Challenge gets a season 2 from Netflix. A new trailer for Freud's Last Session, where it's Sigmund Freud talking to, I think it's J.R. Tolkien. It's either him or I think it's C.S. Lewis. Anthony Hopkins is in that as well. I talked about it before, but a new trailer came out for that as well. David Dastmalchian joins Sigourney Weaver and Mads Mikkelsen on Dust Bunny, the horror thriller, coming out here soon a little bit. The world's strongest priest has broken 19 pure lifting records. So good on that. Maleficent 3 is coming, and then Angelina Jolie has decided that she wants to retire from acting. So we'll see how that goes. In Italy, 9 guys decided to dress up as the Fellowship of the Ring from Lord of the Rings and walk across the country to throw a ring into Mount Vesuvius. I think I talked about that story before, but it's always fun to bring that back up every once in a while. The new Daisy Ridley Star Wars trilogy coming out has a start date now of April 7th, 2024 in London, which means you can get it sooner than later. You can get it in 2025, which is good. The One Love trailer, the new Bob Marley biopic, was released this week as well. Johnny Depp has been asked to play a humanity-saving Satan in Terry Gilliam's new film, The Carnival at the End of the World. So we'll see if he actually picks up on that. The ISS trailer, which looks really kind of an interesting idea. The ISS is the International Space Station, and basically it was built by Russians and Americans. So we're the only ones the ones that are the astronauts who've mostly been in the ISS. We've had other countries' astronauts be in there as well, but the ISS is mostly Russian and American. So the movie is basically about the next crew of Americans coming to the Russian space station, and they are entering the space station. They're all getting along and finding out about each other when they discover that Earth has gone into a nuclear war and has been utterly destroyed by nuclear weapons, and they're stuck in the ISS. Word gets out eventually that it is a war between Russia and the United States. So now we have Russians and U.S. astronauts in the ISS, close quarters, and they're freaking out because they just watched the world get destroyed in nuclear hellfire, and their countries are at war. So it looks really neat. I've seen it a couple times, and I saw it at the movies when I saw Godzilla today. It was kind of neat to see that on the big screen. So kind of interesting about that. French toast cookies are a thing. That sounds pretty good. Kind of disappointing. Kiss is debuting digital avatars of themselves, and they plan to go fully digital from now on. Yes, they are getting fully virtual, I should say. They are getting older, so they really can't tour as much. But to have digital Kiss characters is what the Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA were going after about not happening. But, if you decide to do it, you do it. There you go. Whatever. Kansas woman becomes the third sister to turn 100. She has a 104-year-old sister and a 102-year-old sister. So that's kind of a neat little story. Can Teslas detect ghosts? Apparently someone has, I guess in a Tesla, you have cameras where you can, or infrared or something, so you can see people if they're crossing, if it's foggy or dark or whatever. And they showed a thing where they were driving past a graveyard or whatever, and they saw these people walking around, but nobody was out and about. So I don't know if it was fake or what, but kind of intriguing, I guess, a little bit, though it is Tesla. The Independent Spirit Awards nominations came out this week. So it's kind of the first main awards show. I think we had one earlier, but this is the next big one. This one actually does not get given out to the day before the Oscars. Independent Spirit. Spirit Award nominations. All right, so best feature. Don't want to do that. Best feature is Passages, American Fiction, May, December, We Grown Now, All of Us Strangers, Past Lives, All Dirt Roads, Taste of Salt. Oh, that can't be right. Oh, yeah, that's right. All of Us Strangers, Past Lives. The best first feature nominees are All Dirt Roads, Taste of Salt, Earth Mama, Upon Entry, 1001. Chronicles of a Wandering Saint. Best Director, Todd Haynes, Andrew Hay, William Oldroyd, Ira Sachs. Best Celine Song. John Cassavetes Award, Fremont. Fremont, The Artifice Girl, The Unknown Country, Rotting in the Sun, Cadejo Blanco. Those are all John Cassavetes Awards. The Mother of All Lies, Best Documentary nomination, Four Daughters. Best Documentary, Going to Mars, Nikki Giovanni Project, Best Documentary, Kokomo City, Best Documentary, Bye Bye Tiberius, Best Documentary nomination. These are the nominations for a screenplay. The Holdovers, Birth, Rebirth, American Fiction, Past Lives, Bottoms. The Robert Altman Awards, showing up. Nominations are showing up. Theater Camp, The Starting Girl. Robert Altman Award is showing up. The Theater Camp nominations for a first screenplay is Theater Camp, The Starling Girl, May, December, Upon Entry, Chronicles of a Wandering Saint. Best International Film, Totem, The Zone of Interest, Godland, Mami Wada, Anatomy of a Fall. Best Lead Performance, T.O.U., Greta Lee, Jessica Chastain, Teyana Taylor, Andrew Scott. I guess those are women, and then these men, Andrew Scott. No, I guess they're combined. Judy Reyes, Franz Rogowski, Trace Lizette, Natalie Portman, Jeffrey Wright. Best Cinematography, The Holdovers, All Dirt Roads, Taste of Salt, Monica, We Grown Now, Chronicles of a Wandering Saint. Someone to Watch Award, Monica Sorrell, Lauren Moss, Joanna Arnon, Jesse Shortbull. Joanna Arnon. The Truer Than Fiction Award, Jesse Shortbull, Seth Hernandez Ronquillo, Sierra Urick, and Lara Tomaselli. Best New Scripted Series, Dreaming Whilst Black, I'm a Virgo, Beef, Slip, Jury Duty. Best Editing, Theater Camp, We Grown Now, How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Best Editing. Best Editing is Theater Camp, We Grown Now, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, Upon Entry, Rotting in the Sun. Best Supporting Performance, Glenn Howerton, Catalin Saavedra, Anne Hathaway, Divine Joy Randolph, Marin Ireland, Noah Galvin, Sterling K. Brown, Charles Melton, Ben Wishaw, Erica Alexander, Tia No More. Best breakthrough. Best Breakthrough Performance, Tia No More, Dominic Sessa, Anita Walizada, Altan Nazaire, Marshawn Lynch. Producers Award, Graham Swan, Monica Walton, Rachel Fung. Supporting Performance and News. It's going to keep going on. I don't have time for this. So there's a lot. This is all the Spirit Awards, which is the independent film. So that's why you haven't heard of a lot of those. So a lot of stuff like that. So that's what that's all about. So there we go. Anniversaries. Punisher Warzone came out in 2008. Flash Gordon came out in 1980. Dumb and Dumber came out 29 years ago. We talked about that. Star Trek VI, Undiscovered Country came out in 1991. Oh my God, I have a page and a half left. I'm not going to get this done. Florida State was screwed in the college playoffs. They were an undefeated team. They won their division. They beat some of the a couple SEC teams, and they did not make the college playoff. Instead, Alabama, who has a loss, did, and the only reason why is because of money, basically. So it's kind of a shitty way of doing things. So it expands to 12 teams next year, so it's going to be a moot point, but still kind of pissy. Disney is releasing Soul, Turning Red, and Luca, which are all Pixar movies that were released direct to Disney Plus and not in theaters during COVID, into theaters in 2024. So it'd be nice to see some of those again in the movie theaters as well. A Loch Ness monster-like sea creature was spotted in the ocean. So that's kind of interesting. Leverage Redemption, the sequel series to Leverage, is returning for a third season and is moving to Prime, which is kind of good. Maybe we get I never caught the first 2 seasons, so that'd be kind of cool to see that. Foundation has been renewed for a third season on Apple TV. Radical New Drug is poised to extend the life of large dogs, so people who don't want to lose their pets early will be able to get that as well. Drew Goddard is the top choice for Spider-Man 4 if Joan Watts decides not to do it. Drew Goddard directed the wonderful Cabin in the Woods, so it'll be interesting to see that as well. Loki Season 2 gets 4 Critics' Choice Award nominations, including Best Drama, Best Actor for Tom Hiddleston, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Supporting Actor for Key. So that's good on that. Robotic pets could help people with dementia and loneliness. You have to take care of them, but they make noise and you can talk to them and stuff like that. Local news, there is a mermaid museum in Maryland. Never heard of it, never seen it, so we'll see what happens with that. The Self-Reliance trailer came out with Jake Johnson and Anna Kendrick. Did not watch it, but it's an interesting premise. You play a game of life and death for 1 month for $1 million, and you can team up with one other person. So sounds like sort of like the game, but for real. The Accountant sequel, it's on its way to Prime with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck reprising his role and John Barenthal expanding his role from the previous film. The director, Gavin O'Connor, is coming back, and he wants to make a trilogy out of it, so we'll see if that happens. Adam McKay has dropped his serial killer movie with Robert Pattinson and Robert Downey Jr., which would have been amazing, but he dropped it, and Netflix decided to drop it as well. He's now thinking about doing his climate change movie, so we'll see how that works out. The luscious Felicia Day is set to host the first ever San Diego Comic-Con cruise in February of 2025. So good on that, good on her. A couple of Paul Giamatti stories. Paul Giamatti was cast in Twin Peaks season 3, I think in the Jim Belushi role, but had to bow out due to prior commitments. Paul Giamatti also would like to appear in the next Knives Out movie, and I think that'd be really cool to see him because I like Paul Giamatti. Nicolas Cage is also set to retire from movies, but he still wants to act, and he's thinking about maybe moving on to doing streaming and television now. So we'll see if that ends up there. The Peregrine lunar lander is set to launch on Christmas Eve in 2 weeks from NASA to land on the moon for the first time since the early 70s. House of Dragons Season 2 trailer came out this week as well. I feel like I'm missing something, but I'm not. Disney Plus revealed that they're only going to have 3 Marvel Cinematic Universe shows. One is Echo coming in January. Agatha Darkhold Diaries due out sometime in 2024, and X-Men 97 is also due out. That means that Ironheart is being pushed to 2025. Wonder Man is being pushed to 2025. And the much rumored Mephisto Halloween short will not be debuting this year as well. So we'll see. And Disney Plus also announced that only 2 Star Wars series are coming back in 2024. The Acolyte, which I'm dying to see, actually, and Skeleton Crew, which I think would be kind of interesting as well. But no, Andor Season 2 appears to be dropping in 2025 now. So there's only 2 coming there. I talked about House of Dragons, but Game of Thrones actors who played Joffrey and Theon are set to reunite in a new thriller series set in modern times, obviously. So it'd be kind of neat to see that. Speaking of Nicolas Cage, just like Angelina Jolie, she's going to do Maleficent 3 and then retire from acting. He's going to do Lords of War sequel and probably retire after that from movies and do TV. The JWST Space Satellite Test Telescope discovered water and methane in a warm Jupiter exoplanet. So that's intriguing. Reacher gets a 3rd season on Prime. Death, Miles Goodwin, April Wine icon dies. Looks like he's a musician. Don't know much about him. And Denny Lane, a member of Wings, passed away the band Wings passed away this week as well. Anniversaries, Chapter 3, Season 1 of Fortnite debuted 2 years ago this week. The Last Samurai of Tom Cruise debuted 20 years ago this week. And Krampusnacht was on the 5th this week. And the movie debuted 8 years ago this week as well. Almost done. Was not expecting to go an hour and a half here. Let's breeze through here. Excuse me. The Doctor Who Christmas special trailer debuted this week. Looks absolutely awesome, stunning. Goody Wada looks like he's going to be a good doctor, so we'll see how that all works out. Comes out Christmas Day on Disney Plus. LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels wins the Heisman. Never really heard of him before. Everyone was talking about Caleb, whatever his face is, or the wide receiver. I forget his name also, but this guy came out nowhere to win. Red Lobster lost tons of money on their endless shrimp deal, which is the reason why they became bankrupt. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Squashmallows are now available for fans of that show, of that. Actually, that's going to be the last one. Subway has created a foot-long cookie. So you can have a foot-long cookie if you want. Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie are reuniting in the Ocean's 11 prequel. The first trailer for Godzilla x Kong came out. Looks really, really good. Very heavy on Kong, but you did see some Godzilla stuff, including instead of the typical blue flame, he comes out, he's got like a pink one coming up, which is really cool. And you get to see the villain is a very Kong-like character. New Resident Evil remakes could be coming from Capcom. A big blob of hot water in the Pacific may be messing with El Nino, making it act weird. So whenever you have an El Nino, you can pretty much predict what the weather's going to be, but because of this blob of hot water, it's making it screw up a little bit. So now it's hard to tell what's going to actually happen. A movie about George Santos is set to be being made here soon. Trash, whatever. Has the Wheel of Time found its 3rd season character, Queen Margase and Olivia Williams? That's the rumor right now, so we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. I'm going to see the last 2 stories for now. Anniversaries. What the hell? The David Lynch version. Okay, the David Lynch version of Dune came out 39 years ago this week. I still want to read the oral history. Hopefully I'll get that for Christmas as well. Wham's Last Christmas debuted 37 years ago this week as well. Not Another Teen Movie debuted in 2001. And Scarface with Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer debuted 40 years ago this week. The final 2 stories of this week, and then I can go to bed. I should probably stay up to 2 o'clock. That's besides the point. Jennifer Garner's kids love the taste of char, because according to her, she burns everything. So that's interesting. And finally, the final story. This is a real place, and they thank me for liking their page and Facebook. The Uranus Fudge Factory and General Store in Missouri is an actual location. And I think that's hilarious. And I know they knew what they were doing when they named it that. So that's it. Another episode down the drain. It was hard to get through. But next week, maybe I'll try the earlier time frame. We'll see what happens. But next week, we're getting even closer to Christmas. My daughter's 17th birthday is next week. My family has an all-day event at Broad Creek on Saturday, so I'll pretty much be by myself unless my son decides not to go. I got to get the house decorated because we're still going down to my in-laws' house tomorrow, or rather later today. So you may be doing that today, but with the rain coming, stuff like that. But the rain is coming. It's going to be very warm here in the Reisterstown area. We're looking at, it's going to be 59 degrees today. There's a flood watch until 10 a.m. Monday. The rain is supposed to start coming in at 8 a.m. and not stop. It goes to 1 a.m. Here with various iterations. So the Ravens game is going to probably be a total washout, and we're looking at 40s and 50s and then 30s by next week. So interesting stuff coming up. But that is it. I got nothing else to say about that. Next week's movie, Wonka, is due out on the 15th of December. I ain't going to see it in the movie theaters, but it will be out. So if you want to check it out, go ahead. But I definitely recommend go see Godzilla -1. Definitely worth it. All right, guys, I am out of here because I'm exhausted, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.